Just when she thought the man would bite her, he suddenly stopped. Theodore endured the pain brought on by the curse. He didn't want to hurt the girl in front of him, but in the next moment, she was embraced by him. She took the initiative and kissed him. However, this action wasn't meant to be meaningful. She was merely trying to treat the novel's male protagonist who was in the midst of a frenzy. But before long, the girl went from being proactive to passive. If you were to ask her why she acted this way, it all started with that damned system she and her sister were caught in. She transmigrated into a dark, dramatic novel. Inside the novel, she became the younger sister of the female protagonist. After their mother passed away, her older sister, Estella, raised her in their mother's place. Even though she was still a child herself, Estella never gave up on her. Therefore, her sister was the most precious person in the world to her. Until her 20th birthday, when she suddenly saw her sister's future in a dream. Estella was being relentlessly tormented by a man, but she was unable to resist. The man called her a witch. When she was awakened from a nightmare by her sister, she realized that she had awakened her memories from her past life. She had transmigrated into a novel she had read before, Carl's Doll. It was a dark, explicit work. The male protagonist's family suffered from a severe hereditary form of mania. Some would experience onset during adolescence, while most wouldn't manifest symptoms until adulthood. The symptoms would then subside after middle age. But in reality, most people would be dealt with due to violent outbursts before their symptoms subsided. And the way to eliminate the symptoms was to absorb simulated experiences. Lena looked at the arrogant radish in front of her. It made her overthink things again. Why did she enjoy reading this kind of stuff in her past life? That's why she was punished by being transmigrated here. Nana, are you feeling unwell? Thankfully, you don't have a fever. You should go back and rest. Lena was troubled. The biggest problem right now was her beautiful, kind sister. Her ending was losing herself in a dungeon and meeting her demise. No, she absolutely couldn't let her sister suffer such a tragic fate. Fortunately, Estella had a childhood friend she grew up with. Although he wasn't powerful, he was gentle and considerate towards her sister, a kind person. She had already decided to have him escape with her sister before she was captured. Meanwhile, at Duke Kaguo's estate, a man was suffering intensely, tormented by his mania. He only had a chance to survive if he found the witch. Initially, her sister was unwilling to run away. No matter how much Lena pestered her, Estella remained unwavering. But Lena knew that her sister actually liked her childhood friend. Although she was very dissatisfied with Emile, because no one was good enough for a perfect sister. But in the original novel, Estella spent every day in the dark basement, longing for Emile, to the point that she almost cried herself blind. Her love for Emile even made her completely unwilling to accept the handsome and wealthy male protagonist. If I leave with Emile, what will you do? Sister, haven't I told you? I can go work in a nobleman's mansion. They provide room and board, and I can earn money there. I heard they're looking for strong women. You know how strong I am, right? But Estella, who deeply loved her sister, how could she be willing to leave her? Nana, please stop saying such things. Just then, a drunken man, reeking of alcohol, barged in. Estella called out, "Father," in a trembling voice. She shielded her younger sister behind her. This man was another reason Lena wanted her sister to escape. He always beat them after getting drunk and often gambled away all the money her sister worked so hard to earn. His fist slammed into her again. "You bitch. How dare you look at me with that look? Father, I'll teach her a lesson. Please, for my sake, don't do this." He was thinking that if she was injured, she wouldn't be able to earn money. He shoved his eldest daughter aside. "It's all because of this cursed brat. She sobered me up. As compensation, you get me some money ready." After sending the demonic father away, Estella rushed anxiously to her sister to check her injuries. "Sister, are you going to be tormented by father for the rest of your life? Does it have to take him beating you to death?" Estella finally gave in. "Then let's go together. On foot, sister. If we both disappear, he'll definitely come after us. You go first. I'll buy you some time. We'll only be separated temporarily. Don't worry, I'll leave right away too, sister." I mustered all my courage to say these things. "So, sister, be brave for once." That day, Estella finally made up her mind. Fortunately, she had made arrangements with Emile a few days prior. In the novel, Estella willingly walked into hell to protect her sister. She wanted her sister to be happy. and Lena would absolutely not let Astella end up with such a tragic fate. Lena wiped away her tears. I can't cry anymore. I still have a lot to do. First, lock Father up. Actually, Father didn't hate her sister that much. It was to protect her that her sister got beaten along with her. Just because she looked like their deceased mother, Father hated her intensely. Confining Father, mission accomplished. Thankfully, he went straight to sleep after coming back in the early morning. It gave her time to barricade the door. Next was waiting for someone from Aduke's house to show up. So there really was someone. A pink-haired woman. Lena felt very uncomfortable being stared at. Although pink hair was rare in this world, before remembering the novel, she didn't think there was anything special about it. The novel described sweet pink hair as having the power to bewitch people's hearts. The woman introduced herself as Oldie. Lena knew this person. In the novel, it was he who took Lena hostage to threaten and take Astella away. "My lady, what brings you here?" Just as the man was about to answer, shouting came from the room where her father was. "Are you keeping some kind of animal in there?" Could she say she was keeping a deadbeat? "That's my father. You don't need to mind him. You locked your own father up?" Lena's head was pounding. She had to find an excuse. "Actually, my father has rabies." Unexpectedly, the other party didn't care at all that that's not important. "I'll get straight to the point. Come with me to the Duke's house." Going smoothly, she could go in her sister's place. However, once Lena arrived, she realized everything was completely different from what she had imagined. In the novel, the female lead's first encounter with the male lead was in a small room. But how did she end up in a dungeon? As I just said, you only need to do one thing. The man opened the heavy iron door. Before he could finish, she was thrown into the dungeon. How could you just throw someone in here? Oldie's tone turned icy. "What you need to do is figure out how to calm down the person inside." "Are you joking? I don't even know anything yet." The reason she came here in her sister's place was because, aside from having the same hair color, they were completely different, and Theodore, obsessed with her sister, most likely wouldn't be interested in her. So, she was betting she wouldn't meet that tragic end. As long as she cooperated, she could wait for the male lead to realize she was useless and let her go. Because she had been strong since childhood, she admired muscular men who could split firewood with a single axe swing. She had even said to her sister, "Don't beast-like. Strong men exist." Having said that, she didn't actually want a man who had become a beast. Theodore Callio, the future heir to the Grand Duke's house. At this moment, he had lost his mind due to rabies. In a novel, he pounced on Astella the moment they met, and then fiercely bit the female lead's neck, drinking her blood. But why was it different with her? The other party was covered in murderous intent, practically coming at her to devour her. Her arm was torn, and he was chewing on the blood-soaked cloth. Theodore murmured about the sweet taste. "Have you come to your senses? How about we talk calmly?" As soon as she finished speaking, the man lunged at her again. "All right, you really are just a beast." Emmer had once told her, when facing a beast, never run away. Maintain eye contact and keep your distance. Most importantly, never show fear in your eyes. She glared fiercely at him. It seemed to have some effect on Theodore. So even madmen could feel fear. Just as he was backing away, her foot slipped. The beast lunged at her at the same time. Blood dripped onto the floor. Lena grabbed him with one hand. He bit her. It hurt, and it was terrifying. He was going to start eating her, starting with her arm. Just as she was thinking about punching him, the man suddenly stopped. He had her firmly in his jaws, but he suddenly stopped. The teeth that had been biting into her were no longer applying pressure. He was like a figure frozen in time. The girl didn't dare move, afraid of startling the beast again. Theodore, in the midst of his frenzy, was afflicted with a madness that drove him to fulfill his desires purely on instinct. But looking closely, she could see wounds around his mouth. His hands were covered in cuts, and his fingernails were broken and split. These kinds of wounds were all too familiar to her. In her childhood, she had often been locked in a dark room by her father. No matter how much she cried, no one came. And he seemed different from how he was in the original story. What if his situation was similar to hers back then? The girl cautiously reached out her hand, gently patting his back and comforting him. "It's all right. You don't need to be afraid. Everything will be okay." As the girl's soft voice soothed him, his eyes returned from crimson to their original color. Then he collapsed against her. "Lord Theodore?" He didn't respond. Could his madness have subsided because he drank her blood? But in the original story, when he drank Astella's blood, he didn't stop pursuing the heroine. To think it was resolved so easily. His condition wasn't right either. Could she have gotten the novel wrong? Hey, a pink ball suddenly appeared before her eyes. Lena was shocked. "What is that?" Come to think of it, there was supposed to be a character who appeared on the scene. In the novel Callio's Doll, there were no monsters or magic. Although the Callio family had a hereditary madness, judging by their reddened eyes, they seemed more like they were cursed. But this thing looked exactly like a slime. How dare you? How dare you call me, a high-ranking demon, by the name of a low-level monster? Do you want to die? Seeing the girl stunned into silence, the ball became even angrier. Why aren't you speaking? Answer me. If you're not a slime, then what race are you? I'm Zgan. Okay, Stjan. What race are you? I'm Zgan. Lena, thinking he hadn't understood, said again, I apologize for my rudeness. My name is Lena Grazia. My race is human. So what race are you? The little ball started playing dead. After a few seconds of silence, the girl rolled her eyes. It was clearly a slime. I'm a great demon. Don't call me a slime. It bounced away angrily, just as she was about to call out to it. The person in her lap stirred. By the time she looked back at the ball, the little thing had vanished. This was so different from the original story she knew. And Theodore was currently trapped in a nightmare. His affliction had started earlier than anyone else in his family. Just when he had placed his hopes on his father, the man had only left him with a few cold words. Don't lose your mind. Do you remember how your brother died? If you don't want to die like that, you absolutely must not kill the witch. Those were the last words he heard his father say before he lost his mind. It wasn't a warm farewell from a father to his son. It was merely a warning about his fate. He knew his father didn't like him. At least, not when he was having an episode. He thought his father would help him. He didn't know how to alleviate the heart-wrenching pain from the sudden appearance of canine teeth and the tearing of his gums. He didn't know how to control the hands that sprouted sharp claws. He only wished his father, who had experienced the same pain, would tell him it was all right, that everything would be over soon. Yet there was nothing. He thought he might as well be dead until those long-awaited words came from stranger's mouth. Theodore recovered slightly. The pain in his body disappeared. His teeth and hands returned to normal. Wait, where's the witch? Where is she? Upon hearing Oldie say the girl was still in the basement, he immediately rushed out. He didn't remember what happened, but he knew the price of his recovery from the frenzy. Had he hurt her? The moment he opened the door, he saw the girl standing in the dungeon, radiating resentment. With 3 parts complaint mixed with 4 parts anger, she said, I've been waiting. This is outrageous. How could you treat me like this? Theodore panicked. He had indeed hurt her because of his episode. Then he heard the girl say, when you brought me here, you promised food and shelter, but you're making me eat air. How could you skip 2 meals in a row? Theodore was dumbfounded. Had she hit her head? To prevent the male lead of the cheesy novel from turning evil, he had described him as a cute rabbit. But compared to a harmless, fluffy rabbit, this man was clearly a ferocious wolf. Lena, mistaking the newcomer for Oldie, started to throw a tantrum because she was hungry. After venting her frustrations, the man suddenly approached. Seems like you have a lot of complaints. Of course. The rest of her words were swallowed back. Wait, that voice. The girl looked up and realized it was the novel's male lead. Her mind went blank. She thought they were just sending someone to take her away, but Theodore himself had come. She stealthily looked him up and down. His eyes were still red, and he could speak normally. It seemed he had regained his sanity. Why are you frozen? It's understandable. You've probably never seen a monster like me before. Considering last night, he thought it was normal for her to see him as a monster. But back then, his eyes had looked like those of a lost child. And now his expression, wasn't that just the look of a rebellious teenager? It's not my fault. It's the world's. This could turn into a full-blown Chernobyl situation. Seeing the girl remain silent, Theodore became even more dejected. Are you too scared to answer? I think you're as cute as a rabbit. The man, who looked nothing like a rabbit, remained indifferent. A rabbit? Had he said something wrong? Well, in fantasy novels, the male leads are usually carnivores. That I didn't mean you're a rabbit. I meant a rabbit's eyes are red, and so are yours. Therefore, you're also cute. You think I'm cute? Help! He was running out of excuses. But strictly speaking, compared to a cute rabbit, Theodore was indeed quite handsome. After his condition improved, it became even more apparent that he was the male lead of a Western fantasy novel. Just like a typical dark hero, his gaze was intensely aggressive. Coupled with his slightly hoarse voice, it made him even more alluring. But compared to this cold, predatory type, she preferred a loyal, tail-wagging puppy, and she wasn't Theodore's type either. So neither of them will be blinded by feelings. That was a good thing. What did you do to me? The girl lifted her bitten arm. You should be asking yourself what you did to me. Only this one wound. For now, yes. But that's impossible. I should have more wounds. Didn't he remember what happened during his episode? If he becomes suspicious because I'm not badly injured, it'll be too late to investigate my sister. He risked everything to send my sister away. In the original story, how did the female lead react after the male lead's episode? Right, I'll pretend to faint thinking about him. I think I'm a bit anemic from having so much blood sucked out last night. She collapsed onto the floor. Although she acted as still as death, Lena was actually in excruciating pain. She'd hit her ankle bone. The man suddenly ordered her to be taken to a room. Great, she'd gotten away with it. But hadn't Theodore come alone? She peeked open her eyes and realized he had crouched down. If you have any conscience, open your eyes and get up. As expected, this trick wouldn't work on the male lead. Thankfully, he didn't press the matter further. Watching the girl's retreating figure, Theodore grew even more suspicious. She'd spent the entire night with him while he was having an episode, and she was still this energetic and walking so briskly. Was that even possible? But remembering the girl's expression when she was caught, he couldn't help but laugh. What was that expression? In any case, it was fortunate he hadn't hurt her too badly. The blush slowly faded from his face, but he probably wouldn't consider this fortunate. Contrary to the pessimistic Theodore, for Lena, this was definitely fortunate. This was incredibly fortunate. She'd gone from a dungeon cell to an ultra-luxurious single room. Her wounds were treated, she got to eat delicious food, and she even received beautiful clothes she'd never worn before. She was supposed to be a maid, but it was just a title. She was essentially Theodore's personal attendant. Oldie didn't understand why the girl was so happy over a single dress. Well, as long as you like it, because Lena had only worn new clothes twice in her life. One was the children's clothing her mother had sewn by hand while pregnant with her. The other was the dress her sister had gritted her teeth to buy new fabric for on her birthday, which was the dress she was currently wearing, the one Theodore had ripped. She had worn it yesterday, specifically to bring good luck. If she'd known it would be ruined, she would have worn something else. Thinking of her sister made her heart ache. If the original story progressed as planned, her sister would definitely be tormented terribly by the male lead. Was Amor taking good care of her? They absolutely had to escape successfully. She really missed her sister. As she cried, the sword-shaped fluff ball appeared again. Lena froze, then abruptly stopped crying. What the heck? I'm the great demon Sigian. Have you forgotten me already? The male lead, suffering from his affliction, needed simulated bodily fluids to regain his sanity. But the girl didn't want me bitten black and blue every time. Halfway through the original novel, the female lead, Astella, started using other methods to help the male lead through his episodes, gradually replacing his pain with pleasure. While she had enjoyed reading about those methods at the time, she absolutely couldn't do them. Therefore, she had to find a way to easily extract bodily fluids. She looked at the little fluff ball. That if someone made you eat tears, what would you do? Kill that person. Well, darn. Kill that person twice. That wouldn't work. Even she wouldn't want to eat someone else's tears. But dying once was better than twice. Thinking about recent sad events, she squeezed out some tears. Just as she was wondering when she would see her sister again, someone suddenly entered the room. It was the novel's male lead, Theodore. What was he doing here? Theodore was also embarrassed. He'd knocked on the door, and when no one answered, he'd entered since the door was open. And the reason he came to find her was to apologize for his earlier behavior. Oldie had reported the girl's situation to him. An impoverished home, alcoholic parents, and now even her sister was missing. Right? He'd said the dress she was wearing was precious. Theodore's conscience was heavy, which led to the current situation, a girl with tears in her eyes and ripped clothes. He didn't really understand. Was a single piece of clothing really that precious? Why are you crying? She couldn't very well say she was thinking about feeding him her tears. It's because I miss my family. Even though her performance was so unnatural from Theodore's perspective, Lena looked especially pitiful. It seems she and her sister have a good relationship. This made him feel even more uncomfortable. He reached out and gently wiped away Lena's tears, then lifted her face to look at him. I'm concerned. Lena froze. Feeling guilty, she thought, wait a minute. Concerned about what? Did he hear what she said to the slime earlier? As long as she denied it, everything would be fine. By the way, why did you come to my room? Oh, right. I had Mr. Oldie send you a letter earlier. Theodore then remembered his second reason for coming. He had received a strange letter from Lena earlier. The letter asked about the symptoms of his madness and the intervals between episodes. The content was both absurd and terrifyingly blunt. Probably only she would dare to write to a nobleman like that. But what concerned him even more was the symbol. What does this strange character mean? Does it mean laughter? Theodore looked at her incredulously, a laughing heart. Lena forced an expression like this. And for the first time, Lena saw someone make such a speechless expression. At least she hadn't been discovered. She was happy about the prospect of the male lead eating random things. Joy quickly overwhelmed whatever intelligence she possessed. Theodore gave her a large sum of money as compensation for ripping her clothes. Some clothes aren't that expensive, but I heard it was precious to you. You don't have to compensate me with 2 million mona. This is enough for several months of living expenses for an ordinary person. She painfully refused. You don't have to give me so much. Theodore radiated the aura of money. Precious things cannot be measured by money. Since he insisted on giving it to her, she accepted. She would save it and live a good life with her sister when she returned. Was he no longer sad? Lena thanked him again. Thank you, Lord Theodore. Her smile seemed infectious. He had said she looked like a rabbit before, but he didn't know who was actually more like a cute rabbit. After receiving the small fortune from the male lead, Lena began studying tea brewing. Aside from the 2 hours of study each day, she spent the rest of her time eating, drinking, and having fun. What a dream job! However, she had been here for more than 10 days. Logically, the effects of the bodily fluids should have worn off. Why hadn't the male lead had an episode yet? Thinking about it, she looked at the little fluff ball. Before she could speak, she was bluntly rejected in "Oh, I haven't even said anything yet." No need to say it. I know you're thinking about that male. Oh no, that's wrong. How can you call him a male? Why not? Is he a female? No, that's not how you refer to a human. You should call him a man. The little fluff ball nodded. I understand. Then I'm a male slime. Lena's world collapsed. She had not only slept with this fluff ball for more than 10 days, but they had also frequently hugged, cuddled, and engaged in all sorts of intimate acts of affection. How could this thing be male? After being bitten by the crazed male lead, she received a whole mountain of gold coins as compensation. Compared to the original plot where her sister was imprisoned, she had practically met an angel. But the moment she saw Grand Duke Callio, she was pulled back to reality from her beautiful dream. Grand Duke Callio was Theodore's father. His power was so great that he was practically on equal footing with the emperor. But he was even more notorious for his cruelty. He had falsely accused his rival family of treason, leading to their complete annihilation. The men were sold into slavery, and the women were sold to brothels. He had falsely accused his rival family of being rebels, resulting in their entire family being annihilated. The men were sold into slavery, and the women were sold to brothels. On the battlefield, he's utterly inhuman. During the war with the Diora kingdom, he killed 38 members of the Diran royal family and hung their heads on the city walls. Yet, this despicable man was now staring intently at her. Was he the witch? Lena, inheriting a new room, looked up, but he had already turned to leave. The little maid beside her frantically urged her not to look up. Be careful, or Mr. Oldie will scold you too. She quickly bowed her head again. But all she could think about was that moment. That man was terrifying. He had only spoken a single sentence, but his tone and gaze were lofty, treating human life like mere tools. It sent chills down her spine. If she could, she never wanted to face him again. Today was not only the day of his triumphant return, but also Lena's first day serving tea to Theodore. Accompanying her was Theodore's attendant, Rumley. Unfortunately, they were turned away at the door. Naturally, Lena was happy to slack off, but Rita looked worried. When Lena asked, Rita explained. Theodore didn't have a good relationship with his father, so he always acted like this whenever the Grand Duke returned. You might be wondering why their relationship is so strained. It's quite normal. My father and I aren't close either. Just as Lena started to feel sorry for the girl, thinking she was just as unfortunate as her young master, Rita said cheerfully, but I have a sister, so it's okay. My sister is very kind. Then does Master Theodore have any other relatives? This time, Rita didn't know how to answer. From the moment he was born, Theodore was unwelcome in this world. His mother called him a monster and frequently abused him. She openly told him to die, without any regard for who was present. Not all parents love their children. The wet nurse finally said, the young master and the Grand Duchess don't have a good relationship either, so please don't mention either of them in front of him. Lena sighed. They're both so heartless. Even though Lena has a deadbeat father, at least she has a sister to help her keep going. Doesn't Theodore have any close family? In the novel, he was cold-blooded and cruel, showing no mercy even to the female lead. She looked at the closed door behind her and thought, I wish there was a tea that could lift his spirits. However, the male lead situation didn't affect her at all. John had recommended a great spot for slacking off. Taking a nap that would be perfect, but just as she was about to drift off, she was startled awake by a voice. A man's shouts came from nearby. Following the sound, she found a man practicing swordsmanship. His well-defined muscles and sharp movements, bathed in sunlight, had a vibrant beauty that made Lena watch for a few moments. But she quickly remembered something. Wait a minute, why is he here? Noticing someone watching him, he silently dressed and caught the girl hiding behind the tree. After getting a clear look at him, the girl suddenly remembered. He was the knight, Inst, who had dragged her away from Theodore in the dungeon a few days ago. He had been hostile towards her from their first encounter. Being caught by him now couldn't be good. She wanted to run back, but she found herself captivated by his appearance. Great physique, handsome face. If only he were 5 centimeters taller. And that red hair and blue eyes are so striking. Wait, isn't he that red-haired guy? He appeared like a ghost. What are you doing here alone? Startled, she blurted out his name. Instida, Klaus. Its defining features in the novel were his red hair and blue eyes. He was Theodore's. He wasn't some minor character. He fell in love with Asteria at first sight and tried to help her escape. After failing, he was tragically executed. Faced with questioning, he made up an excuse. Mr. Oldie told me about him. The redhead glared at him suspiciously. Lena wanted to cry. Because this character had helped the female lead, she had quite liked him in her previous life. However, the Inst in the novel didn't believe a witch could cure the frenzy. Because of Asteria's experience, she could calm Theodore down, but also intensified his obsession and madness for the female lead. That's why he didn't believe in the existence of witches. This guy even doubted Asteria, whom he fell in love with at first sight, let alone her. She had wanted to understand his attitude for her sister's sake, but why should she? She had suffered so much in the dungeon. Inst asked again, what are you doing hiding here? I'm not hiding. I just come here to nap sometimes. Forget it. I know even if you don't tell me. Sorry, I'm not interested in brats like you. It's normal that you like me. I'm handsome and charming, but I reject your feelings. Who said I like you? My type is someone at least 10 centimeters taller than you and 20 kilograms more muscular. Those are my minimum requirements. Inst, proud of his physique, was deeply offended. Wasn't he already in perfect condition? Lena cheerfully bid farewell to the redhead. Wait a minute. Inst's large hand reaching towards her triggered a bad memory. The man's figure overlapped with the image of her abusive father. Her eyes filled with terror. She yelled, I'm sorry, and crouched down. Inst froze, stammering. Lena, regaining her composure, said, I'm sorry. I was just startled. Did you need something? He couldn't bring himself to pursue his previous question. You have a leaf in your hair, he said, staring intently at Lena. Seeing his seemingly indifferent expression, she sighed. Good luck with that. She had wanted to ask about Lord Theodore. When he heard about the Grand Duke's curse and the witch, he thought it was just a fantasy. But after witnessing his master's change, he had to start believing it. She really could calm the frenzied Lord Theodore down. Lena suddenly reappeared. This was dumbfounded. Since you're the Lord's guard knight, we're bound to see each other often. You can't keep calling me witch, can you? My name is Lenatus Grazia. The redhead breathed a sigh of relief. Formally introducing himself, he became curious about this petite witch. Could she really save Lord Theodore? The answer was of course yes, although the method was a bit perverse. Lena stood at the door with tea, hesitating. Was this the only way? In the end, would she really have to spit in his tea? She was about to spit into her employer's teacup when she was caught red-handed. The reason being that the man suffered from a frenzy, and she, possessing witch blood, could treat this ailment with her bodily fluids. Under Aunt Rita's supervision, after completing several tasks, she was finally allowed to deliver tea alone. The moment had arrived, but Lena couldn't bring herself to do it. She started to psych herself up, no matter how she thought about it. It was better than letting him turn into a monster again, right? She wasn't doing this just for herself. She was doing it for Theodore. What are you doing? She quickly swallowed her saliva and answered nervously, "It's time for afternoon tea." While checking on Theodore, she secretly observed his condition. His fingernails look okay, too. He's emotionally stable now, no signs of turning into a monster. Even though this time failed, there will be other opportunities. Theodore was holding a book of poetry. He had been reading it for a long time. Wait, aren't poetry books supposed to be short? But he doesn't seem to have turned the page since a while ago. Lena's gaze lingered. She then realized he was staring at her. When did he start looking at her? "Do you like books?" "What? I saw you staring at this book." He couldn't say. He was observing Theodore's condition. "Not really." "Why?" "Because they're boring. They make me sleepy." In her past life, she preferred exciting and interesting books, but they were probably hard to find in this world. Most importantly, her family was poor. Books were a luxury for her and her sister. Theodore looked incredulous. "You say books are boring? Then what do you like?" He had been ignoring her before. What was going on today? Seeing her silence, he pressed on. "Don't you have anything you like?" What she liked most was her sister. But Theodore was asking about hobbies like horseback riding. It was a pity that she was constantly working at home. "I like good food." If she had to say what made her happiest here, it was that there was plenty of delicious food every day. She didn't have to go hungry anymore. "After I came here, I learned that lamb can be made into lamb chops, and that grilled fish cakes can be so delicious." Theodore chuckled that I suppose no one dislikes good food. No wonder gourmet is a profession. He gestured to a nearby sofa, inviting her to sit. "What delicious food have you had recently?" "Actually, I saw pudding for the first time recently." "Was it good?" "I haven't had a chance to try it yet. I just saw it. I heard the ingredients for pudding are expensive, so any extra goes to the senior servants first." Theodore put down his book. "Is that so?" He seemed lost in thought. "Oh, and yesterday's chicken was also very good." "That was pheasant yesterday." "So pheasant is that delicious?" Through her conversation with Theodore, she gradually realized something. This person was completely different from the one in the novel. He didn't have an air of superiority, nor was he arrogant, and he patiently answered her questions. She enjoyed this conversation. Lena wondered if he felt the same way. The answer was yes. When night fell, Theodore would unconsciously laugh as he recalled the day. But the next moment, he felt a surge of blood. Oldie appeared at this moment. He regained his composure, but his violet eyes were tinged with an almost imperceptible red. Oldie reported that someone would be visiting tomorrow, Lady Barflow of the Count Barflow household. Although outwardly she was declared to be a tea friend of his mother, she was actually one of the candidates for his wife, and he didn't even know who these people were. He didn't care much. His mother, who had previously wished him dead, was certainly resourceful in using him. He figured even if he died, she would sell his body for research. "What do I need to prepare?" "Clean yourself up. Go seduce the Count's daughter, like a prize-winning, poisonous horse." "Lord Theodore, if you don't want to—" "What? If I don't want to, will you have tea with her in my place?" "Forget it. Just make the preparations as instructed." To his mother, he was never a son, just an object that could secure her position, and his father didn't even bother using him. If it weren't for the need for an heir, he probably wanted him dead just as much as his mother did. From that day, when he witnessed his brother collapse, he felt trapped in hell. The next day, Lena poured tea for the two of them in the awkward atmosphere. Just as she was about to slip away, she suddenly noticed something wrong with Theodore's body. His eyes were gradually turning a dangerous color. Looking at the man writhing in pain, Lena finally took the initiative and kissed him. Theodore's eyes widened in disbelief, and at this reaction, he even thought she looked rather cute. The Duchess's arranged meeting wasn't going well. Even though Miss Barflow was being very forward, Theodore remained indifferent. The young woman complimented the tea, but he said he didn't understand it. Lena just wanted to leave. She didn't want to be a third wheel. However, she snuck glances at the Count's daughter. Not only was she beautiful, but she also exuded a noble and elegant air. A bit like his sister, Asteria. But the things she said out well, she was certainly a noble lady. He should just finish his tea and leave. Just then, he noticed Theodore's hands seemed to be trembling. Even if he liked her, he wasn't the type to tremble in front of a woman. Being proactive and going after the person he liked was more his style. Wait, his eyes were turning red. This was bad. If outsiders found out about his frenzy, thinking this, he turned to Miss Barflow. "Countess, I apologize, but it seems tea time should come to an end." Her expression changed instantly. This world was very class-conscious. A maid couldn't just speak to a noble as she pleased, so he could understand the Countess's anger. But the situation was unusual. Then, in the next second, the young woman smiled. Lena froze, but the Countess simply ignored her. I won't be having any more tea. Have this maid dismissed. Lena panicked completely. Theodore was clearly losing control, and my lord has suddenly taken ill. Miss, please come again another time. She pleaded internally. Please leave before he loses consciousness. I'm doing this for your own good. Perhaps because she wasn't getting a response from Theodore, Miss Barflow gave up. She stood and said her goodbyes. Lena breathed a sigh of relief, but she didn't notice the glare she gave him before leaving. Just as he'd feared, Theodore's frenzy began. He looked to be in terrible pain. She couldn't worry about whether it was unsanitary or not. She had to give him the antidote. Just as she reached for the tea, Theodore grabbed her arm. He opened his mouth and lunged towards her. Lena closed her eyes, resigned to her fate. But after a moment, there was no pain. Trembling, she cautiously opened her eyes. He was just leaning against her, enduring the pain of his frenzy. He could have regained his sanity instantly by biting her, but he hadn't. Was it because he didn't want to hurt her? Theodore. Lena cupped his face in her hands and kissed him. Theodore's eyes widened. Lena's mind raced. What'd I do now? She'd read countless novels, but she'd never even held a man's hand, let alone been in love. In novels, the male lead always took charge in these situations, but he was losing consciousness. Suddenly, scenes from her novels flooded her mind. For the first time, she was grateful for all the books she'd read. She tried to mimic what she'd seen. She touched Theodore's still emerging canine teeth. The sharp little teeth were almost cute, like a small animal's. Lena's mind wandered. What next? Suddenly, Theodore pulled her closer and took the lead. Lena knew this was just to treat Theodore's frenzy, to share her fluids with him. It wasn't supposed to mean anything else. It wasn't supposed to have any other feelings attached. That's how it should have been. Stygian was the first to notice something was wrong. What happened to your mouth? Did something bite you? Your lips are swollen. Eventually, Oldie took the unconscious Theodore away, but that was after his eyes had returned to their usual violet. The sensation on her lips still lingered. At that time, Theodore's expression was also unforgettable. The little slime thought her fourth master was acting strange. The girl's lips were swollen and red. She seemed distracted whenever he spoke to her, and she looked preoccupied. Most importantly, she hadn't made him dinner. After all, it was the first kiss of 2 lifetimes. Just gone like that. And Theodore bit her lip. To say she didn't mind at all would be a lie. Besides, he was also her employer. She recalled how he looked before leaving. He probably didn't remember this time either. Lena got up. She had to go see if Theodore had recovered. Stygian, the little slime, was abandoned again. Since you're a great demon, deal with it yourself. He should have calmed down yesterday, but she still had to confirm his condition with her own eyes. A voice called out to her, "Someone is looking for you," in the backyard. When she asked who it was, the girl looked frightened that I've delivered the message. You should go quickly. Another person who believes in witch legends. There's no need to run away just because she saw her. She decided to go and return quickly, but unexpectedly, she was attacked as soon as she reached the backyard. What Theero, who are you? A muscular maid glared at her fiercely. Lena grabbed her backhand, and with one forceful movement, threw her. She was known for her strength. The maid lay sprawled on the ground, dumbfounded. She had to tell the others immediately. Such a fool. Is it that hard to make a girl half your height kneel? Miss Barflow appeared, looking leisurely. The weather is hot. I want to go back early. Nothing ever goes my way. You, a mere maid, dared to send me away yesterday. How should I kill you to vent my anger? I wasn't trying to send you away. I had a reason for doing so. No matter the reason, you cannot humiliate me in front of Lord Theodore. That concerns your life. She couldn't tell her the truth that Theodore had a frenzy. How could she explain it? As Barflow ordered, the maid tackled her again. How dare you argue with me? Kneel on that filthy ground. She almost forgot. This was a world of strict social hierarchy. For a noble to deal with a commoner was as easy as crushing an ant. From the beginning, she was just in a bad mood and wanted to take it out on her, just like her father. At this point, there was only one thing she could do: beg for forgiveness. Until dusk, she didn't know how many times she said she was sorry. I was wrong. But the Countess still looked dissatisfied. Hadn't she calmed down yet? When was the last time she was beaten? Her father used to hit her often. Those days only ended after she came here. Thinking about it now, the people here had been good to her. It made her almost forget that there weren't only good people in the world. Why aren't you continuing to apologize? Who are you trying to fool? She closed her eyes tightly, waiting for the slap to fall. But this time it didn't. What are you doing here? The girl was surprised. It was Inst. This is the Duke Callio's villa. Outsiders are not allowed to enter or leave as they please. Please leave immediately. Do you know who our mistress is? How dare you order us around? I apologize, but I only recognize faces, not names. So I don't know who you are. I am Lord Theodore's guard knight, Instaklaus. My duty is to guard this place. Seeing that he was a knight of noble birth, Barflow immediately changed her attitude. That my name is Frilka Barflow. Yesterday, the Duchess invited me and Lord Theodore for afternoon tea. This person, who had been so vicious towards her just a moment ago, changed her attitude immediately upon seeing that he was also a noble. However, something very unpleasant happened during afternoon tea. That's why I was disciplining this maid who offended me. Seeing its look at her, Lena shook her head. He was wrongly accused. Inside, that I understand your feelings. Lena's heart tightened. Yes, this was also a noble. It was normal for him not to believe her, but she was only trying to save Theodore. And that person, only her sister would believe him unconditionally in this world. But Lord Theodore has always been protective of his people. If you want to become one of his people, you must understand this. That's interesting. Does meeting a maid also qualify one as Lord Theodore's person? Inst extended his hand to her. He whispered, "Take my hand." Lena, bewildered, reached out. Otherwise, he would have just pulled her along. It might not just be maids, either. After you become one of Lord Theodore's people, you'll understand what I mean. Inst looked at Barflow with a smug provocation. Lena was about to cry. What are you saying? How can you keep provoking the Countess's daughter? Looking at Barflow's terrifying glare, Lena felt like she was about to be eaten alive. She didn't quite understand why Inst was helping her, but doing so would undoubtedly offend the Countess's daughter. However, at this moment, Inst seemed incredibly reliable, and Barflow actually gave up, but not before leaving behind harsh words, remembering Inst along with Lena. Oh no, I seem to have dragged Inst into this. Lena nervously grabbed him. Are you all right? I'm fine. He clearly wasn't. Your face is bruised, and your hand is scraped. We need to treat your wounds quickly. Follow me. Watching Inst's back, Lena seemed to understand why some people like gentlemen when they read books. Meanwhile, Theodore was also looking for Lena. He had no memory of the last episode, but this time he remembered everything clearly. He was so disoriented that he came looking for her as soon as he woke up. At this moment, Inst was treating Lena's wounds in her room. Hearing strange sounds coming from the room of his knight and maid, Theodore panicked and burst in, only to find they were just treating her wounds. The girl's face was covered in bruises, and Inst was using a cotton swab to disinfect them. Theodore froze, then blushed at his own indecent thoughts. He didn't recover until Lena called out, "Lord Theodore, let's continue." He left the two bewildered. When Oldie found him, he still hadn't recovered from the earlier situation. "My lord, are you unwell? Should I call the physician immediately?" Theodore walked away quickly without turning back. "I'm fine. Then I'll have the kitchen prepare some easily digestible food today. Or is there anything you'd like to eat?" Hearing the mention of food, Theodore stopped pudding. But he wasn't ordering it for himself, but for Lena. He had the kitchen make a large batch, but only ate one himself. The pudding found its way to Lena through another route. The girl who delivered the pudding to her was named Claire. At first, she was a bit wary due to the rumors, but now they got along well. He was always getting scolded by Oldie for making mistakes, and Claire would get scolded alongside him. Because he was injured, Claire and Aunt Lita told him to rest well, saying they would cover his work. Besides Inst, who helped him yesterday, there were many other people who were kind to him here. Just as he was feeling touched, a familiar voice rang out. "How ugly. What happened to your face? Don't ask. This is delicious. Let's eat together. You're all injured, and yet you're happy just because of some food. It's not that serious." But it wasn't for nothing that he'd gotten her the pudding. She was actually concerned about him. Darn it, who did this? How dare she hurt my subordinate like this? Intentionally capsizing the boat. He didn't want to think about that woman, but he eventually told Little Bun that his anger was maxed out. So, is this how you got hurt? Tell me, that countess, where is she? Never mind, Sigian. Let's not talk about this anymore. She hates me so much she attacked me. I don't want to talk about her anymore. I only want to remember those who like me and whom I like back, like Inst, who saved me and treated my wounds, and Claire, who brought me pudding in hopes I'll recover quickly, Oldie and Aunt Lita, who are worried about me, and you, Little Bun, who's angry on my behalf. You're even pinker now. Are you touched? Come to think of it, there's one more person I should thank. That's Theodore. But my gratitude only lasted a day. The next day, that man gave me a real shock. Get ready. Get ready for what? You haven't spent the money I gave you, have you? I'll take you to spend it. Lena's world crumbled. That was her, and her sister's nest egg. Just a few hours earlier, Incite suggested to Theodore that they strengthen the villa's security, but the authority to deploy troops rested with Grand Duke Carlio, his father. So, he didn't have much power to intervene. Actually, I discovered someone trespassing in the backyard yesterday. She said she was Miss Barflow. Are you sure it was yesterday and not the day before? It was yesterday that puzzled him, because she had been invited the day before. The day he almost had an episode, and Lena helped him calm down. The image of her in his mind made him turn his head, concealing why she had come yesterday. Finally, Ince told him about Lena's injury. Because she only told everyone she had fallen, he was probably the only one who knew Lena had been hurt by Countess Barflow. No wonder Ince seemed more serious than usual when he saw Theodore that day. His aura had completely changed. What's that countess's name? It's Frilka Barflow, Countess Barflow. Frilka Barflow. He memorized it. Lena was already different, so she offered to go back to work. After all, she couldn't always rely on others. When she went to take Theodore some tea, she ran into Ince just coming out. After greeting him, Ince kept staring at her. You look much better. I was too panicked yesterday to thank you properly. Thank you for helping me. But he hadn't practiced martial arts, just so she could thank him. You're welcome. Before she could finish speaking, she was captivated by his hair. It looked so soft and fluffy. By the time she realized it, she had already reached out and touched it. Why are you touching my head? Ince chuckled. You should try not to provoke that kind of person in the future. Just as the two were chatting happily, someone suddenly opened the door. You two seem to be having a lively chat outside my door. Lena had only chatted a bit more with the knight, but Theodore was already jealous, afraid the guard would steal her away. And in Ince's eyes, Lena was like a cute little lamb. The description was rather fitting. From the moment he entered the room, Theodore had a poker face, staring intently at her, as if trying to figure out what to do. She tried to greet him, but he just ignored her. Actually, Theodore was just shy. As soon as he saw her face, he remembered their kiss the day before, and she was still injured, yet she came to bring him tea. He wished she would rest for a few more days. Was she bored? I heard from Oldie that you haven't left the villa yet. In that case, get ready. Lena was tricked, because Theodore was going to take her shopping. That's her savings. Her nest egg to go back and live with her sister. After she picked up the boutique clothing, she thought about Theodore and her spirits sank. How could a single piece of clothing cost $4.35 million? No wonder Theodore gave her $2 million at once. She didn't need such high-end clothes at all. Thinking that Theodore assumed she didn't have time to shop and had kindly accompanied her to the store made her feel even worse. It's not that I don't have the chance, it's that I don't want to. Moreover, he brought her to such a high-end clothing store, just as she was planning to pick the cheapest item and leave. A woman suddenly snapped at her, "What are you doing?" The clothes were snatched from her hands. That you've been sneaking around touching the clothes since you got here. What are you trying to do? I was just looking. Do you know how expensive these clothes are? Someone like you could never afford them. If you understand, then get out. Are you telling me to get out? Is there anyone else here besides you? Look at yourself. Lena lowered her head and endured the shop assistant's berating. Why are you cowering? Do you want to hit me? She muttered softly. Well, thank you so much for saying that. You're right. It's not that she doesn't want to buy clothes. It's that she can't afford them. She's already been told to leave. What else could she do? Lena was secretly thrilled to have saved a fortune. Now she had an excuse to fool Theodore. How clueless he was. Are you crazy? Lena grabbed his arm. Yes, these clothes are too expensive for me. But then Theodore suddenly appeared. Is there a problem? The woman froze. This man was dressed like a typical nobleman. Here comes trouble. The snobbish woman positioned herself in front of Lena. Lena moved left. She blocked her. Lena moved right. She blocked her again. She even waved her hand, signaling Lena to leave. Although a little annoyed, Lena could understand. Unlike Theodore, she could tell at a glance that Lena was a commoner. But then Theodore pulled Lena back. I asked you why you insulted my companion. One sentence shocked both of them. Lena glanced at him furtively. Theodore seemed angry. True to her saleswoman nature, she quickly backpedaled that I'm so sorry. I was blind. You didn't realize this. This lady is my companion? It seems you don't even know how to apologize. And you should be apologizing to her, not me. The woman finally realized her mistake. She began to formally apologize to Lena. To make amends, let me take you to the VIP room. I don't want to buy anything at all. Lena screamed internally. Please, just let me leave. It's understandable that you don't want to buy clothes here after being treated like that. Let's go to another shop. Lena glanced back at the snobbish woman, now full of regret for offending a nobleman. She suddenly felt a surge of satisfaction. Is this what it feels like to be rescued by the male lead in a novel? Hearing their dissatisfaction, Ince thought for a moment. This was the largest women's clothing store. There's another one over there, a bit more expensive. Lena immediately stopped him and, oh wait, it's getting late. Let's just go back. And started to argue. It's still early before dark. Ince, be quiet. To avoid a repeat of the earlier incident, Theodore decided on the next door. I'll go in with you. Lena wanted to cry. Does she really have to buy clothes? Lord Theodore, I like money. Money is my favorite thing. I appreciate your concern and understand you want to compensate me for ruining my clothes. But I never actually had the chance to wear those dresses. So, I prefer cash. Noticing Inst holding back a laugh, she nudged the real culprit. Once you've recovered, I'll have completed my task. Then I want to leave the mansion and live with my beloved. Theodore froze, a sharp pang in his chest. Lena wanted to live with her sister. Inst, however, assumed she meant a lover. Theodore only heard that she wanted to leave. The emotionally stunted male lead of the novel. At this moment, he sat like an obedient dog in front of the girl. Lena, feeling tired, fell asleep as soon as she got into the carriage. Theodore watched her the entire time. She seems tired, but isn't it uncomfortable to sleep like that? Recalling what the girl had just said, the man lowered his eyes. She said she wanted to live with her loved one in the future. Lena tis. She's someone who seems full of hope for life, no matter the circumstances. The complete opposite of him. Theodore, during his first episode, felt despair at his predetermined fate because he had witnessed the ultimate outcome of the frenzy with his own eyes. He also knew that he would die in the same tragic way. Even his parents called him a monster, let alone others. But actually, buying clothes was just an excuse. He heard that Lena had been slapped and felt sorry, so he wanted to take her out to relax. But she was just playing along with him. The girl suddenly shook her head. It turned out her hair had gotten in her eyes. He carefully brushed it away. Then he heard her say, "It's okay." Theodore abruptly withdrew his hand. He began to loathe himself. If he hadn't had an episode, Lena wouldn't have been dragged to the mansion. She wouldn't have been bullied because of it. It's normal for him to hate himself. The girl started talking in her sleep again that I really can't eat anymore. I'll explode. Theodore froze. What was she dreaming about? But I want to eat that pudding. Just that one sentence made his heart clench. In his father's eyes, the witch was merely a tool to eliminate the frenzy. So he thought his eagerness to stabilize her was due to the influence of magic and his desire for her power. The carriage suddenly jolted violently. He caught the girl's head to prevent her from hitting the carriage wall. Realizing he was overthinking, he chuckled slightly. He knocked on a window. "Driver, slow down a bit, but then we'll be late." "It's all right. It's better to be slow and safe." He had never heard that simply looking at a witch could bring inner peace and ignite hope. The ordeal gave him an idea. If he could stay by her side, perhaps his ending wouldn't be so tragic. As a child, Theodore often ran to the back mountain to cry alone. Occasionally, someone would come looking for him. "Let's go back together." He froze. The person's hands were covered in blood. "What's wrong, Theodore?" "There's blood on your hands, too." Poor Theodore, the child who inherited the cursed blood, the great heir of Callio. "You're just like me. Hope is nothing but a delusion for you. You cannot escape your tragic fate." He plunged into darkness once more. But this time, the world was illuminated. He opened his eyes in disbelief. "Lena, tis? What are you doing?" "I came bring you tea. I saw you were sleeping and wanted to cover you with a blanket. So it was a dream." But why was he so startled? There's a big difference between daytime and nighttime temperatures lately. My sister says it's easy to catch a cold in this weather. So I see. You and your sister have a good relationship. Of course. My sister raised me, taking care of me since I was little. How old was she when she started raising you? 22. Our mother passed away when we were very young. I can't say anymore. If I pique Theodore's curiosity about my sister, I'm doomed. I finally managed to steer the plot back on track. You're an only child, right? The reason no one interfered with Theodore's villainy in the novel was because he was the sole heir of the Callio family. I had an older brother. Lena froze. The novel never mentioned this. Shouldn't the eldest son inherit the title? Was his brother a hopeless scoundrel? Or did he elope with some commoner girl? "Where is your brother?" Theodore asked calmly. He died 18 years ago. Died of madness. I watched him die with my own eyes. Isn't this plot moving too fast? He just found out Theodore had a brother, and now he's dead. Looks like he didn't find a witch like me. No, he found one. Why else would Theodore stare at him like that? Because after his episodes, he couldn't control himself. He killed the witch. After the witch died, his brother's madness worsened. So my father got rid of him, even though he knew the witch was his only stabilizer. But the man told the girl the last witch died at the hands of his brother. Because his crazed brother couldn't control himself, he killed his witch. I witnessed my brother's death with my own eyes. In the process of him hurting others, Lena doesn't know what his relationship with his brother was like, but he knows the beautiful one committed murder and how terrifying it is to kill one's own kind. Seeing the girl tremble, he thought, as expected, this kind of thing scared her. If you want, you can go back. Unexpectedly, the girl suddenly hugged him. Theodore blushed. What are you doing? Don't worry. That kind of thing will absolutely never happen to you. Only good things will happen from now on. And I'm very strong. I won't die easily. Theodore, wrapped up like a dumpling, mumbled. It's so stuffy. Realizing she was sweating, Lena secretly took a few steps back. This is a kind of happiness therapy. Being wrapped up like this makes you feel calm and safe. The man said in a doubtful tone, Really? As expected, this excuse isn't working, is it? I'm sorry. I really don't have any other intentions. I just want to make you feel better. Theodore's mood did improve, and in a sense, he also felt warm. Late at night, Lena couldn't sleep. When she read the novel, she didn't understand why Theodore was so cold and heartless. Now, she seemed to understand a little. He was only how old 18 years ago? No wonder he had that inexplicable thirst before. And when he had his episodes, why did he sometimes seem like a lost child? It's inevitable, because that child still lives in his heart. What would happen if he saw his sister kill someone? No, her sister is so kind. It's too hard to imagine. Let's try that again. Calmly holding a knife, her face like ice, she stepped closer to her prey. As expected of his hysteria, his sister is too beautiful. The awakened Sijin looked speechless. Have you finally lost it? You're awake. Just help me think of a way. He told Sijin Theodore's story. You're talking about the owner of this house. You want to make him happy? He's so rich. He's definitely living better than you. What are you fussing about? But happiness is priceless. That's because you can't afford it. Even if I don't have money, I'm still very happy with my sister. If you had money, you could be even happier. He was speechless. But there are also ways for companions to be happy without spending money. That is, to have the female please the male. What nonsense are you talking about? I do want to do something for him, but it can't be that kind of thing. Is massage something to be so shy about? Wait, you're talking about massage? What else could it be? Then why are you differentiating between male and female? Because it's disgusting for a male to massage a male. Anyway, getting a massage will improve your mood. If your mood improves, you won't be depressed. Lena suddenly lifted up the slime. You're right. Sijin, you're a genius. That's right. The opposite of dark pattern is to make the suffering protagonist happy. He's going to turn the novel into a healing story. But what is a healing story? In her past life, although she dabbled in everything, from fantasy to modern, from temptation to monster stories, without exception, in the end, the protagonists all became treasured wives. The only thing she hadn't read was a healing story. The strange thing is, she can even remember the books she read in her past life, but she just doesn't know how she died. Hey, why did you suddenly stop? Keep praising me. The massage slime is getting round and plump. He looks like he's in a good mood. Well, no matter what his past life was like, it's over now. The present is what matters. And as for the kiss, Sijin, when are you in the best mood? Of course, when the whole world is at my feet. Okay, that has nothing to do with healing. Also, when the tributes you offer me are delicious. But Theodore must eat better than him. And when I'm sleeping next to you, didn't I tell you? You have a nice smell that puts me in a good mood. As long as I sleep next to you, I'll have sweet dreams. Sijin, you have such cute thoughts. I'm not lonely because I have you. I know, the ship of friendship can capsize easily. So can we sleep now? Forget it. What can I expect from a slime? So, as for Theodore, the solution is good food and sleep. Because he's ugly, men always find fault with him. Serving tea and water all day, what kind of work is that? And he has the nerve to eat so much. He's so lazy he doesn't even comb his hair and just struts around. The girl explained that her hair was naturally curly. It's just like this naturally. And the work was arranged by Orty. What business is it of his? But the man wouldn't let it go. Why does even Aunt Lita favor only you? while we have to get up and work at dawn. He couldn't exactly say his job was high risk, that he might be bitten by the master of this house. This big oaf. He can't experience being absorbed by Theodore for me. But the man just kept ranting. Everyone is just afraid of you because you're a witch. We shouldn't have hired you in the first place. Your laziness just increases everyone else's workload. Seeing more and more people gathering around, Lena stood up abruptly, unable to bear Claire's humiliation. Where's the axe? The girl named Claire was frightened and trembling. Lena, you can't resort to violence. Soon they gathered in the backyard. She was determined to teach this lanky man a lesson. Claire, I love you. That axe is for chopping wood, not people, old man. Didn't you say chopping wood every day is tiring? Then I'll chop more today, so you can rest for a few days. What can a little thing like you even chop? I bet you want to complain to Orty and say I'm bullying you. Suddenly, I don't want to chop wood anymore. I want to chop something else. Tell you what, let's see who can chop more wood in 1 minute. If you lose, you're not allowed to judge me ever again. Why should I compete with a shrimp like you? If I lose, I'll give you half my salary every month. If you're not confident, you can back down. The man thought, this is a sure win. Fine. If you win, I'll shut everyone up for you. Then it's settled. Lena Volkin. Let's start with me. I hold the record here. What did you chop with those skinny arms and legs? In case some readers have forgotten, let me remind you, Lena was once the strongest child in the village. Meanwhile, Theodore was spacing out. Orty noticed he hadn't translated anything for almost half an hour. Orty, do you know what happiness therapy is? The man was stunned. Clearly, he didn't. Never mind if you don't know. I guess I'll have to ask Lena. He was just curious. He wasn't looking forward to afternoon tea. Speaking of which, what does Lena do when she's not bringing him tea? She's teaching that old man a lesson. The onlookers cheered. Amazing. That girl chopped 38 pieces of wood in a minute. Uncle Noah only managed 10. Are witches naturally this strong? Lena picked up a piece of wood and dangled it over the man's head. Please keep your promise. She finally vented her anger. Now no one would dare to challenge her. Claire carefully approached him. Your Highness, can we go back? He seems all right. Suddenly, his stomach growled loudly. Darn it, it's all that old man's fault he hasn't eaten anything. Lena said, Theodore, are you hungry? Let's go to the dining hall and see if there are any leftovers. The two leaving were unaware that the wind of change had begun to blow because of this incident. Is she really a witch? That's what I'm saying. She just seems strong. Claire also said she's a good kid. Anyone would be hungry after doing manual labor. Isn't she just like us? I really want some kimchi fried rice, but they don't have that here. What's kimchi? Kimchi is something that makes me happy. Right. Since Theodore has eaten all sorts of delicacies, why don't we let him try some food he's never had before? Claire, let's go to the kitchen. A short while later, Theodore, who had become a guinea pig, saw an unidentified object appear on the table. It's clearly afternoon tea time, but what is this huge thing? Consider it a snack or a full meal. I made this especially for you. So, I hope it suits your taste. To prevent the male lead of a dark fantasy novel from breaking down, the girl decided to heal him with food. Looking at the enormous platter in front of him, Theodore had a bad feeling. I made this especially for you. The moment the girl opened the lid, he just wanted to close it again. As a native of South Korea in her past life, the first dish Lena thought it was kimchi jjigae. But this world, devoid of gochujang, hindered her next move. She decided again to make plain fried chicken. Claire, the queen of encouragement, cheered. That will definitely be delicious. Lena froze. Claire, have you eaten fried chicken before? Although Master Theodore doesn't really like common food, the head chef occasionally makes fried dishes. Didn't he make fried cob before? That was delicious, right? Lena was speechless because it really was delicious. Was he a fool? I don't think this world has fried chicken. Thus, after several rounds of setbacks and compromises, Lena cooked the most common barley. She made a rose sauce using the head chef's special tomato sauce, chili powder in place of gochujang, added sugar for sweetness, and finally used chewy squid instead of fish cakes to create Lena's special japchae. Theodore asked in a trembling voice, "What is this?" "It's a special dish from my hometown." If he hadn't known Lena wouldn't harm him, Theodore would have almost thought she was trying to poison him. But seeing the girl's expectant and proud expression, he couldn't seem to refuse. The first bite almost sent him to meet his great-grandmother that I can't eat this. It tastes so strange. Lena's chef dreams were shattered. She had put all the delicious ingredients into it. Theodore resisted. First, it's too spicy. Second, it's extremely sweet. And there's also a faint fishy smell and a honey flavor. He said while secretly observing Lena's reaction. Seeing the girl's flustered look, he gave up that I'd like some tea. After work, Lena, unwilling to give up, brought the japchae back to her room. What kind of taste is this? Strange. I clearly put in all the delicious ingredients. It's a miracle Theodore didn't punish me. Come to think of it, at home, it was always her older sister who cooked. She was only responsible for helping prepare the ingredients. In her past life, it was also her mother who cooked. Her mother was a kindergarten teacher, very cheerful, a kind and gentle person. But strangely, she didn't feel much emotion about her past life memories. It was like being a bystander. But thinking of her mother still made her feel warm. If only she had memories of her mother here too. Her sister said their mother was not only kind and gentle, but also very beautiful. Like an angel. It was a pity she didn't have a single memory of her. It didn't matter. Having her sister was enough. The most important thing now was to make Theodore happy. Today was a failure. I'll think of something else tomorrow. Completely contrary to Lena's expectations, Theodore will never want to try that flavor again. It's obvious he probably didn't even taste it before giving it to him, even though the food was terrible. Thinking back to how nervous Lena was about his reaction during the day, she found her strangely endearing. He should be asleep by now. She suddenly felt a strong urge to see him. Then go see him. You're just a monster and a witch, after all. What good will suppressing your desires do? No matter what, your greed will only end up hurting him. You can never escape fate. This period of peaceful living has almost made her forget that she's a monster. How can she have such delusional feelings for him?